Hi, and welcome to the recording of Printeresting, how to innovate, grow, and succeed within the print and graphics industry. So how's this going to work? What we're going to cover in the next maybe 45 minutes or so of the recording is a few topics, a few ideas, a few challenges to get your business really flowing. At the end of the presentation, just go back and pick one area to focus on, because one of the things we really trip up with as business owners is we try to do too much. So go back and pick one area, right? And then what to do as well is I'm only covering these topics at surface level. I'm going to offer MD that takes your time to invest in watching this. I'm going to match that and give you an hour back. I'm going to give you an hour of my time to spend with you to dive as deep as you want into any of the topics that we cover here, or perhaps anything else that's maybe unique or specific to your business. So if you're going to give me the time to watch my presentation, I'm going to reward you back by giving you an hour of my time. And that will really push your business forward. So please take advantage of that and have a bit of fun with it as well. So, whichever one you choose, it's going to help drive your business and push it forward. So when I'm doing a live presentation, I always ask this question: what is your biggest challenge right now? What is your biggest challenge right now? Because we're seeing a lot of changes in the industry. And what we've got to be careful of is we don't see those changes as an excuse not to do something. We've got to see that as a reason to progress and innovate within our business. Because there's always been challenges in the industry. I mean, since Caxton was a boy, we've been hearing this, right? But the missing link for most print and graphics business owners is there's no differentiator, right? I'm going to set a little challenge here, right? And it's not customer service. Let's just get this right out of the way right now. The answer to this next question is not customer service. So we've got to get it customer service. What differentiates your business from your main competitor? What makes your business really stand out? What differentiates you from your main competitor? And it's not the kit that you've got, that's bollocks, right? It's not customer service, right? What differentiates your business? What makes you stand out in the marketplace? Because let me be brutally honest, if you don't know, then your customers don't know either. So think about that, and also what's your biggest challenge in the industry or your business right now. And then I always drop this bombshell. What do you want to get out of this is when we're doing the live show, obviously. What do you want to get out of this event? What do you want to take away, right? And be honest, let me know, right? Send me a message after this. Did this recording, did this presentation give you what you want? If it doesn't, I need to know. Feedback is good. Good feedback is nice. Negative feedback is even better because it allows you to fix things. So please let me know. I don't get offended, honest. I'm very thick-skinned. I'm maybe just thick, I don't know. Anyway, a bit about me before we get started. What gives me the right to come on here and advise you what to do, to give you guidance? So my background, my business, well, my business life started really at school. I mean, my printing journey started at school with a little Adana desktop printing press when the CB craze was in its height in the UK. I'm printing these little CB cards instead of doing exams at school. So that's where my printing journey started. And I then went on to learn how to fly. I then joined the RAF. I was in the Royal Air Force, not as a pilot, but as an air traffic controller. And then I felt as an air traffic controller, that a military air traffic controller, there wasn't enough stress in my life. So I decided I wanted more stress. So I left the Royal Air Force and started up my own printing business. Well, Christ, that's took care of the stress, let me tell you. But that went on to become the largest chain of independent print centres in the country. My business was flying, the largest chain of independent print centres in the country, right? Multi-million pound business, absolutely flying, punching way above its weight. But that business failed in its 20th birthday. Despite that award-winning, massive success, that business failed in its 20th birthday. I mean, how's that even possible? And there was 8 avoidable mistakes that in isolation would not have caused a failure, might have caused an inconvenience. But those 8 mistakes created the perfect storm. And my challenge to you is how many of those mistakes, errors could you be making right now? Now, what didn't help me as well is these mistakes and this ambitious growth, this quest for turnover, we'll cover that later, all was happening around about 2008, 2009. And those of you of a certain age will remember what happened there when the financial crisis came along. So we were building this massive business to grow up towards 5 million, sitting just about three, and we're making I let's not let's not blame anybody else. I was starting to make a number of mistakes that were still being masked by the success of the business. That was the bit that really got me. The previous success of the business was masking a lot of these mistakes that I was making. Plus, I was a bit of a dickhead back then as well, if I'm brutally honest. And then, of course, the credit crunch came along, and instead of our business rocketing, carrying on that trajectory up towards 5 million, it was plummeting back down closer towards two, 2.5. But we'd invested all this money. So yes, there was a lot of mistakes being made, but there's some factors there that are out with my control as well. So what were these mistakes that I was making? Number one was complacency, right? Sitting back, yes, a multi-million pound business, Aston Martin, et cetera, et cetera. We have made it. No, you've never made it, right? The innovation never stops. Right? I learned that the hard way. I was really, really out the box thinking. And I'll share some of the marketing stuff with you when we talk about innovation. It never stops because as soon as you stop, somebody else, your competitor, takes the mantle, right? So complacency was a huge one for me. Unplanned growth, right? I learned the hard way as well that, forward thinking, forward planning is worth its weight in gold because, just making these decisions. I mean, I use one example where we had a contract with one of the councils in Ayrshire, and I was driving along through towards Greenock, and thought maybe we should really have we'd have a print centre in this part of the country, and I was driving through the town centre, saw this shop for sale, nice big glass front, double glass front of the window, absolutely fantastic, right in the corner, looked great. Phoned up, asked how much it was because we always bought our own property. They told me the price. I phoned my solicitor, got the offer put in. By the time I actually got back, visiting the client back into the office, we put in an offer, got the qualified acceptance and started the ball rolling. No market research, right? No market research. Um, didn't even get the shop surveyed. So it was actually quite funny because when we were getting the keys from the estate agent, um, he was surprised that I was asking, "Oh, what's this? And where does that door go? I've seen the property yet? No." And people laugh at that, but that's what got the business to where it was. That just, get it done, kick ass planning. Um, it worked, right? It's entrepreneurial until it isn't, right? So unplanned growth, all this stuff worked for me building the business. Then it started to work against me. Number three was not enough focus on the key numbers. And you've got to watch this video to the end, and you will now understand what I mean by key numbers. I became obsessed by turnover, right? Hands up, right? But so do 90% of business owners, the same 90% that say they're not, just, out of curiosity. I became focused on the turnover and not the numbers that drive the turnover. And like I say, I've got a great illustration at the end that will explain that. And then what happened is I wrongly assumed we had so what was the peak? Probably about 2.7. When the business was at 2.7, we were doing around about 25 to 26% profit, net profit, right? 25, 26% net profit. 2.7 million turnover business is doing really, really well, right? And I wrongly assumed that as we grow that business up towards 3.5, 4, 5, that margin and that profit would stay. No, 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 no. So I became focused, ridiculously focused, obsessively focused on turnover and not the key numbers. That was a huge error of judgment on my behalf. Another one that got me as well was not building a business that was sellable, right? Now, at this time, I had no intentions of selling the business. It was always there that at some point I probably would, but it was way, way, way in the future. Big mistake. Build your business as a sellable asset from day one, right? And there's a reason for that. The obvious one is you've got a sellable asset, right? Just want to get that one out there. But more importantly, you've actually got a business that is structured to sell. So the systems and the processes are there. The business is structured so that it works without you, right? So build a business that has got a sellable value, build a sellable business. My business was not sellable. It was too reliant on me. It was too reliant on me. Take me out the business. And yes, there was a business, but it was a difficult business. The systems and processes weren't quite right. The business was too reliant on me. I was maybe not empowering the team enough, etc. So not building a business of sellable value was a big mistake that I made. Losing the ability to to say no, right? A lot of people, what do you mean by that? And one of the big advantages that I had with my business was the ability to say no, right? I could say, no, I don't want that particular customer, or we don't want that particular bit of low profit work. And as the business grew, I lost that ability. I lost the ability to say no because it became about turnover. We needed every single bit of business, right? That's a huge factor. I lost the ability to say no. I was also too slow to react. I was too slow to react to change, right? So once we get through 2008 into 2009, heading towards 2010, my business was really suffering, right? We had massive cash reserves and they're starting to dwindle quite quickly, right? And really from 2010 to when the business failed in 2013, I could only describe it as hell on earth. Wouldn't wish it in your worst enemy, but I was too slow to react. We should have cut back, closed shops, sold shops, got the money back in to the business, taking the decision to let people go, which is horrible. Nobody wants to do it, but you've got to do it. The business is suffering. So I was too slow to react. I'll come back, always has. We've had recessions before, all the bullshit excuses. Too slow to react. Number seven, not empowering the team enough. I had good people. I had very good people. I had excellent people, in fact, but I didn't empower them enough. And then number eight, hands up, just being honest, I was a bit of a dick. Back then, I thought I'd made it, very, very complacent. That works against you. I do that in a separate presentation. So, number eight in business is don't be a dick, because back and bite you. So, let's get started. Let's dive in now to really what we're talking about here about getting your business on track. So, I hope that explains a bit about my background. And what's interesting actually is when my business failed, I joined a company called Tradeprint. And Tradeprint is a fantastic business, and they had been a competitor of ours. And at this point, maybe about turning over about 10 million. Again, this good solid net profits. And we did some incredible things at Tradeprint, really grew that business. In fact, maybe we're too good because the business was subsequently acquired by Simpress, who you'll know better, their trading name of Vistaprint. So that was around about 2015. I was involved quite extensively in that acquisition, but then decided that corporate life was not for me. So I left, and this is what I do today. So let's dive in. That's enough about me. I always say this to end I work with in the print industry. Stop selling what print is and start selling what print does, right? And when I look back at some of the literature that I had back in my business day, I'm like, "Ah, Jesus, did we actually use that, right? You would get a brochure and it would have a picture of we used Heidelberg kit at this point, the Speedmaster 74 B2. So it would have the picture of the 10 colour Speedmaster on it, which let's be honest, those in the industry, it's a good bit of kit. And back then it certainly was, but the customers aren't interested, right? And all our advertisements, 5,000 full colour A5 leaflets, 130 gram gloss. Nobody gives a shit, right? That's selling what print is. We've got to sell what print does, right? For too long, we've sold the features, right? Or worse, the technical element that I've just explained, right? We must focus on the benefit that print provides for our customers. The result it delivers, the pain point it takes away. That's what people buy, right? They're not buying leaflets or posters. They're buying what takes their pain away. Now, you could sell full colour flyers, cards, like we did, 5,000 A5 leaflets for 99 quid. But then we flipped that, right? And what we started to sell was, and this was all down in the wording, and I cannot begin to explain the difference this made. It was huge, right? So instead of selling 5,000 leaflets full colour, both sides, 130 gram gloss, 99 quid, we started selling 5,000 potential leads for less than 2p each, because that's what the leaflets does, right? The most successful one was when we were using postcards, little mailer cards, right? It was always A6 postcards, A6 cards, full colour, both sides, 300 gram gloss. And then it starts to dawn on you, most people that are buying it, no idea what 300 gram is. Is that paper? Is it a slab you could put in your garden? They don't care. So we flipped that and we stopped talking technical and we reworded it to getting 100% opening rates. Because you think about it, you send out a postcard, you send out 5,000 postcards, and as a direct mail campaign, every single recipient's going to see it. So it's got a 100% opening rate, right? And one of the campaigns that we did was mail a card, 100% opening rate, guaranteed, right? Can Google give you that? Because that's what the biggest challenge we had. People were abandoning print in favor of digital medium by the droves. And this was a great fight back, and it worked. So we stopped selling what print is, we started selling what print does, and oh my God, did it work? And that's what you've got to do. You've also got to start really thinking outside. I hate using this phrase outside the box, but you have got to think outside the box, right? So outside the wrapper, as we did in this case. Get innovating, right? I mean, if there's anybody that can innovate creatively, it's people listening to this because you are in the print and graphics industry. You've either got the ability to do this yourself or you've got the contacts to get it done at decent rates. So get innovating. Use print to show the power of print, right? Why would a printer or anybody in the graphics industry use only digital mediums to promote the business? You're telling your audience that print doesn't work. So here's the most successful campaign I have ever done, right? So I started to show how we flipped the message and saw sales increase from that. But when it came to the marketing side of things, we were always one step ahead of the competition. So we started posting out Kit Kats. So we identified the top customers we wanted to work with, right? We had our niche markets. We'll come to that later as well. We'd identified our niche markets. Within those niche markets, we'd identified the top businesses within those markets that we wanted to speak to. So we started to send them out Kit Kats and didn't scrimp. None of this two-finger nonsense. We went full-blown four-finger Kit Kats. No expense was spared here, I tell you. But then we printed up, did the graphics and rewrapped it. And we called it, instead of being a Kit Kat, we called it a Quick Chat. And yeah, I'm sure Nestle would have something to say about that. But you know what? Don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness, Your Honour. So what we did was we rewrapped the Kit Kat into Quick Chats. We posted it 100. And from that 100, we had 76 conversations. Right? Look back at the campaigns that you've done and let me know if you're getting successes that beat that. So that was marketing, but it was also marketing using print, right? So like I say, if you're a printer and you're not using, or even if you're in the print sector and you're not using print as your primary marketing medium, what are you telling your prospects? Now, when we talk about innovation and whatnot, we also talk about differentiation. We talked about it right at the start, right? Why would I use you and not them down the road? Why would I use you? What separates you from your main competitor? In the eyes of your customer, not what you think, what they think. So ask them, right? And like I say, it ain't customer service. That's a given, right? And the reality is, if you don't know what really differentiates you from your competitor, then guess what? Neither does your customer. That is the problem. But worse than that, if you're the same as me and I'm the same as you, we're both the same as them, what happens? What does the customer ultimately make a decision on? Eeny, meeny, miny, price, right? When we start to differentiate ourselves and become the owners of that sector, the experts, the go-to person, no longer about price. Trust me, I'll prove it. So how did I differentiate my business? This is one of the things we did. Now, when would this have been? This would probably been about 2004, 2004, 2005. Business was flying, right? And we bought this yellow Isuzu truck. They had a big drop down stage, and we converted it into a mobile print shop, just like this. We converted it into a mobile print shop. And then we started to look at where our customers hang out in their biggest numbers, right? So if you're going to go fishing, you go fishing where the fish are, right? You don't go fishing in Tesco's car park, you go fishing in the stream full of salmon. And that's what we did. So we picked up the phone and we spoke to people. And we ended up speaking to the marketing department at Macro, right? I don't think Macro exists anymore. Macro back in the day, big, huge business to business cash and carry, where you can actually go and buy pretty much stuff you didn't need for prices that you could probably buy cheaper elsewhere. It was a very strange model, Macro. But anyway, forget that. The Macro stores were very much business to business, and it was also they had big food halls as well, but all business to business. It was business owners that were going there. So we thought, right, let's take the ink truck into the Macro car park. So we got an agreement with Macro throughout the UK. So there's Macros in Glasgow, Edinburgh, Newcastle, Birmingham, Manchester. We had an agreement with them all, and we just took the truck on a round robin trip um, every week, every month, every year, and round it went, right? And it worked so well, we stopped doing it. I mean, honest to Christ, what is that? That's got to be the worst phrase you ever say in business. It worked so well, we stopped doing it because we got complacent. As we were open more print centres, we got complacent. Now, but here's the thing though, it didn't actually matter how many people used it, it was how many people saw it. So when we look back at the numbers of the physical orders that were placed in the ink truck, it was actually quite low. But what we didn't take into account fully was the secondary impact of it. People seeing this, then coming back, right? Because it is quite difficult when you actually look back on it. It's quite difficult to rock up in a truck with a generator, a credit card machine, ask for somebody to give you £1,000 on their credit card for print work, and then literally drive away into the sunset, right? Even back then, people were skeptical of that. So we didn't really fully account the secondary level where people would maybe see a truck a couple of times, or they would see the truck and then go at the website or into one of the stores and order. And then when we actually started to drill on, that's where the real success came from. The real success of this project was not the direct sales, but the indirect sales. Now, we didn't see that coming, right? So make sure as you're innovating, right, you're making sure that you're tracking what's working, what's not, where all your work's coming from. We also introduced our own credit card, our own store card. Right? I mean, the stores have been using this for ages. You know, the big department stores, you go along, you get the store card, you buy something at £1,000, and you end up paying back like, 4.6 million in interest charges. So we decided, yeah, let's have some of that. No, we didn't. But what we did was we got our own credit card because one of the things that the big success of the business is we didn't offer credit, right? Didn't matter who you were, right? We had PLCs that would pay up front. Everybody paid with order. But we started to know that people were starting to get credit elsewhere and we were starting to lose a bit of business from it. So we actually came back with something better. And we came back with the ink card. And what that allowed us to offer was interest-free payments. So customers could buy print and then not pay anything for 3, 6, 9, or even 12 months, right? So the way we badge that is if you've got a big campaign, and it wasn't massive. I think if you spent over 5K, you get the full 12 months. If you spent between sort of 500 and 1,000, it was tiered anyway, to the limit, but it was 5K got you a year, got you 12 months. And we pitched it at that because that was a reasonable amount of money for people doing big campaigns, big marketing campaigns. Come along, spend 5K, get 5K worth of print, get all that working for you. You don't have to pay a penny for your printing, right? Now we were paying, wasn't massive actually. I think it worked out about 10% of the sale to get the full 12-month interest-free credit. It was nothing, right? And I know you can't do it these days, but it was kind of, you know, right? Back in the day, you can't do that stuff now, but it worked, right? It worked really well. Nobody was doing it. It worked really, really well. And we always made sure that, joking aside, that it was worth customers getting this because as well as getting the card, there was a lot of other stuff thrown in as well. Everybody got priority print slots. If you were an ink card holder, you went right to the top of the queue, right? Free artwork as well. That was huge, massive, right? We were doing free artwork for MD that had the card, so there was a lot of incentives for it. But the big one was you were getting £5,000 worth of print, not having to pay for 12 months. It worked. So these are the kind of things that people in the print industry would have folded around and go, oh, that wouldn't work in our industry. And I hear that 1,000 times. To differentiate, you've got to get above that. Now, once you differentiate and you start to stand out, it doesn't become about price. But I want to focus on price just now because we need to get away from discounting. The print industry is notorious for this, right? It's almost like we've forgotten how to sell on value and default to sell on price, right? Because being the cheapest is the easiest to sell, isn't it? No, it's not. So the race to the bottom is on. And let me tell you, you do not want to win gold in that activity. So here's a little example that I created from the Danger Sticker Company, right? And you know this, right? But when you see these figures marked out like this, it's a real eye opener, right? But here's some discounting facts first. Number one, you'll never be the cheapest. There's always some idiot that will be cheaper. Number two, a customer won in price will almost certainly be lost on price. Number three, you'll never discount and then get it back on other orders. The benchmark is set, let me tell you. This, yeah, I'll get that back up. I'll add it on in case it on the next order. It doesn't work that way, and you know it. Number four, every penny of discount comes right off your bottom line, and that's what this illustrates. Number five, you damage your brand. If you're habitually discounting, you start to damage your brand, right? Why you always having to discount? Is your stuff really not that good? Why are you always discounting? You damage your brand. And then you create that culture with your clients that they know they can haggle. They know there's room for discount, right? There's no going back from that. And the worst one is you discount, you increase the sales, the workload, the capacity, the cash flow pressures, and no extra profit. It does not work. Now, here's why I got it wrong, badly wrong, right? And this was influenced by a larger competitor, right? We also had a fairly large chain, UK wide, of print centres, and they were always doing sort of monthly offers. We sort of followed suit. So we're influenced by these larger competitors. And we started doing monthly discounts. And not just small discounts, like 25% plus, but they were on our popular items. What we started doing then is we developed a culture of bargain hunters. And we never really got the extra sales that warranted that discount, which I'm going to show you in the next slide. And then we educated customers that prices were negotiable. So there's a bit of brand damage there. So just be mindful of the hidden dangers of discounts. Sometimes you've got to, some business owners will say, well, I'm happy to take low margin than no margin. And that's a decision you've got to make. So be aware of the impact of discounting. So let's look at the sticker company here. So Danger stickers, £1 each. Danger stickers being sold at £1 each. You're going to sell 5,000 of them. So without the need for a calculator, but use one if you want, 5,000 stickers at £1 each is £5,000 in revenue. These stickers cost the sticker company 75 pence to produce, right? So their gross profit is £1,250, 3,750 to produce, leaving a £1,250 profit, 25 pence profit on each sticker, £1,250. 5,000 units being sold make £1,250 profit. There we go. Okay. Then they decide we're going to offer a 10% discount, so they're bringing their stickers down to 90 pence each. 10% discount excites absolutely nobody. Let's not kid ourselves. But they do a 10% discount and bring the stickers down to 90 pence. And let me just challenge you right there, right now. If I'm going to spend 90 pence for a sticker, I'm going to pay £1, right? Just saying, right? So the stickers are now sold at 90 pence each. To achieve the same profit, £1,250, you've now got to sell 8,333 stickers. 8,333 stickers at 90 pence is 7,500 in revenue. 7,500 in revenue. So, oh, turnover, right? Welcome to my world. Oh, turnover well up. This is great. The cost remain the same per unit, 75 pence. So it's now costing me £6,250 to make my stickers, right? My gross profit, because the discount comes right off the profit, the gross profit is now 15 pence per sticker, means that I'm making 1,250 quid, the exact same amount of money. But think of all the production that's now got to go into making all these extra stickers, the cash flow. I've now got higher bills to pay, right? More capital tied up, more resources, increased distribution costs, cash flow implications. I've now got to pay that 6,250 as opposed to 3,750. So in reality, it's the same profit, but I think we now know it's less, right? So just be mindful of that. Know your numbers. And here's a handy little matrix. If you want, send me an email and I'll send you this PDF. This is a handy little matrix that really, really hits home how discounting affects your business. So what we've got down the left-hand side is the discount. Along the top, we've got the margin, right? So if you're making a 25% margin off of a 10% discount, you've got to sell 67% more to make the exact same. Wow. Gets worse. Let's say you do a 25% margin, then you offer a 20% discount, 400% more just to make the same. So that's discounting. We've now talked about differentiating, innovating, and it all comes down to finding your niche market. Find your niche market and own it, because then it's less about price, it's less about discounting. Niche is good because you become the market leader in that sector. And I'll prove it to you. So, listen to this call. Have you or anybody you know in the printing industry ever dealt with Indian and Chinese takeaways? They like a bit of a bargain. And if you've dealt with them, you'll know this. We dominated that market, like seriously dominated that market. We were printing millions of these menus every single month. But because we became the go-to guys, the experts, we had the card, had all the bits and pieces. Everything was all clicking here. We were innovating. We were really thinking outside the box. We're differentiating ourselves. We'd found this niche market. We weren't the cheapest. We weren't the cheapest by a country mile, in fact. But people were coming to us in their droves because it's our niche market and we owned it. In fact, we became known as they're just the menu printers. I was at a corporate day, and one of the local Glasgow printers referred to us, they're just menu printers. Well, he was looking a bit of a dickhead when we discovered how much we were getting per 1,000 sheets on the floor and how much he was getting with his corporate work, right? We were about 3 times profitable, right? How do you like those apples? So 75% listen to this will say, oh, that won't work in my business, right? But you're wrong, it will, right? Find your niche. When you find your niche, when you're getting your pricing sorted and you're not discounting, let's do the opposite of discounting. Let's start to look at increasing our prices. Now, we don't know what percentage, we just know it's a lot. A lot of businesses in the print sector are undercharging. You think it's a price battle. Now, I'm not going to say for 1 minute it's not tough out there because we all know it is, right? But if you make it about price, that'll be about price. So just as discounting works against us, because every penny comes off the bottom line, price increases work for us because it all goes on to the bottom line. And this example here, I'm going to show you how a 5% increase can mean a 50% increase in profit. How's that even possible? Here's how. So let's say you've got a business that's 200,000 turnover. Now, if it's a big business, that could be 200,000 a month, 200,000 a week, or a small business at 200,000 a year, right? Doesn't matter. Figures are relevant. Watch the illustration. This business has got a £200,000 turnover with a 10% net profit. But you need to have a calculator once more. We've now got a £20,000 profit. Nice. Then increase the prices by 5%, just 5%. Right, that takes a turnover from 200,000 to 210,000. 10 grand onto the sales. But here's the thing, no other costs have been increased, right? Stock's the same, wages the same, heat, light and power is the same, rent and rates the same. Nothing else has changed. Nothing else has changed. There's no additional costs been added onto this. So that full 10 grand, bottom line, 50% bump in profit. Start to know your numbers. Existing customers are the diamonds on your doorstep. Now, I wanted to throw this one in because in the print, graphics, signage, web industry, oh my God, we're obsessed, too obsessed. New customers, new customers. It's almost like banks and whatnot, brand new customers only. The diamonds on your doorstep are your existing customers, right? So why are existing customers gold? Number one is they know, like, and trust you. It's already been established. And it's estimated that over half of multi-product businesses' customers don't know the full range. I was working with a sign and print company a couple of years ago. The print customers didn't know they did signage. The signage customers didn't know they did printing. Don't assume. Do not assume. And the larger the product range, the wider that gap is likely to be. So how do you fix that? Aha, this is how you fix it. The magic matrix. The magic matrix, you can use this in a number of ways. This is just purely for illustration, but you'll get the gist of it. A lot of clients use this in spreadsheets. Some use a CRM. Doesn't matter as long as it's done. So list your customers down the left. That could be 1 to 5. It could be 1 to 5,000. Doesn't matter. You've got all your customers. Then you start to look at what products each of these customers are buying. So in this made-up example, we've got customers down the left, and we've now got products along the top, right? So if we look at customer one is using product 1, 5, and 6, not using product 2, 3, and 4. So once you do all this, you then market to the gaps. Why is customer 1 not using product 2, 3, and 4? Why is customer 2 not using product 1 and 4? You market to the gaps. And then you'll start to hear things like, oh, I didn't know you did that. Like every day, you'll hear, oh, I didn't know you did that. But you can also use this information for something else. Look at product number 5. Everybody's using it. So you maybe think, maybe we discount there. Maybe we're too cheap there. Maybe we could discount, sorry. Price increase, sorry. You start to think, yeah, we could maybe add on a little bit there. Maybe we're too cheap. Conversely, look at product number 3. Hardly anybody's using it. Why is that? Is it wrongly priced? Is it wrongly positioned? Did they know it exists? So you can glean a heck of a lot from this simple exercise. But the key one is market to the gaps. That's where your opportunities are. That's where your diamonds on the doorstep are. And then we find that more money is being left on the table by the follow-up process or the lack of it, right? So a couple of years ago, I created the 6-touch follow-up process, which, to be honest with you, is maybe a wee bit dated now. Maybe needs to be a wee bit more. But so let's say minimum 6-touch follow-up process, right? And it can work in multiple ways, right? And this is where you could get advantage with booking the one-to-one call with me, because No two businesses are the same. There's going to be printers listening to this. There's going to be small copy shops listening to this. This is less applicable to them. There's going to be big commercial guys that are doing big, multi-thousand-pound projects. This is definitely applicable to them, and everything in between. So maybe let's book this power hour, as I call it, and build your own 6, 7, 8 step follow-up process because it works. Every single business, every single client I've got using this comes back and go, oh my God, this is gold. So how does it work? So one business in particular started using this about 4 years ago, right? And the six touch process really starts off with touch point number one, which is the initial conversation. Um, and the initial conversation that leads to the next step. So there might have been multiple inquiries or discussions or even visits before that. But that touch point number one is when the customer says, right, I want a quote or whatever, take this to the next level, give me a quote, give me a proposal. So touch point one is leading up to that. Touch point number two is issuing that quote. And we do that by email, right? And the reason we do that by email is for speed, right? We've got to be quick, we've got to be professional here. So touch point number two is getting the quote or the proposal out to that client by email, right? And we want to be the first person to do that because we want to tell this prospective customer that we're the best, we're smart, we're hungry, we want your business, we're professional, you can rely on us. There are so many subliminal messages by getting a quote out in time, it is scary. Because if you sit in your arse, sorry, shouldn't have swore, if you sit in your arse and don't do the quotes, what does that tell the customer? They're probably thinking, Jesus Christ, if this is what their sales is like, what's that after sales like? Just thought I'd throw that one in there. So is email quote, sorry, is touch point number two, and it's done by email. Touch point number three is done at the same time as touch point two. And you're doing the same quote, but you're printing it out, you put it in a nice document folder, you're sticking in a nice gift, and you're posting it to the customer. And we call that the wow pack. That's touch point number three, right? Now, this is where if you're doing, a couple of quid for copies, that is not applicable. So we'll put that to the side. If you're tendering for a company that's going to be getting exhibition work in print and it's 4 or 5 grand, then yes, you absolutely do this. So the quote, nice covering letter, into nice document folder, and a gift. Now, here's the thing, it isn't merch. So see all these printed pens and rulers? Seriously, leave them for the exhibitions for God's sake, right? So the company and it's a print company, what they do, anything over, I think it's 500 quid. Anything over 500 quid triggers a wow pack. And they're based in Scotland, they're based in the Highlands of Scotland. So what do they send out? They send out handmade Scottish shortbread, nice little tartan bow, and they stick that in with the quote, right? Because everybody loves shortbread, right? Touch point number four is the first phone call. Phone call. Yes, you're going to speak to a human being. And all you're doing there is asking to make sure they've received the quote. And this is where the magic starts to happen, right? Because when you phone them up to check they've received the quote or proposal, nobody in the history of the universe ever said, oh, yes, I got that email, thanks. They all refer to the wow pack. That's touch point number four. Now, some people try and close at that point. No, right? It's not ready, right? We're building no like and trust here. You go by the pace of the customer. If they're given buying signals, yeah, go for it. But that's not what it's designed for. Touch point number four is the first phone call. At that point, they will almost certainly be waiting for other quotes to come in and they won't have received them yet. When you start to say things, subliminal little messages, they'll say, yeah, I'm still waiting for a couple of quotes to come in. And you'll go, oh, surprised to hear that. No, they're not sent them in yet. And just plant a little subliminal seed that you were quick and you were professional and they're not. And at touch point number four, you ask for permission for touch point number six, and that's the second phone call. So I would say something like this. Absolutely no problem. I understand you're waiting for other quotes. Is it okay if I give you a call back on Tuesday, maybe 2 o'clock? Is that okay? And they'll go, yeah, it's great. You've now got permission for touch point number six, which is the second phone call. That's touch point number four. Getting permission for touch point number 6. Depending on what that lead time is, you throw in touch point number 5, which is a little email or a text message or a WhatsApp message in between times, just to keep that warm. And that's it. That's the 6 touch process. When you get to touch point number 6, you're phoning them up. Now, what you never do is you never, ever, ever, ever ask, how did our price compare? Right, because guess what? You've now made the whole conversation about price. You ask, how did our proposal compare? Because then it becomes about service and stock and reliability and quality. It's everything. We're selling value, we're not selling price. So we never ever ask the customer, how did our price compare? When you get to touch point number 6, bing, you're probably, almost certainly, unless it's somebody else that's been watching this presentation, on your own, kid, because you are probably the only person that's gone that distance. 80% of sales are made on the 5th to the 12th contact. Look at the bottom line. 80% of sales are made on the 5th to the 12th contact. Yet, where is it? 4th line down, only 10% of salespeople make more than 3 contacts. And it'll always be shitty ones as well. Did you phone that customer? Yeah, I emailed them. Yeah, but did you phone them? Yeah, I emailed them again. Did you get to speak to them? No, so I emailed them. Okay, we'll try that again. If you spoke to the customer, yeah, I sent them a text message. Nobody's phoning these days. So even by picking up the phone, you're ahead of the competitor. How can I say that? Some customers are just bad for business. They are, right? Let's not kid ourselves. This is the printing industry, for goodness sake. Some customers are bad for business. So what we do, when I'm doing this with clients, we work on 2 metrics. With the time taken up by this client and the profit you make from them, right? But we tend to find the customers that are low profit and hard work tend not to be kind of nice people. Not always, but they tend to be slow payers as well. But the 2 metrics you really want to focus on is time and money, right? Sounds mercenary, which it is, but we're in business. We are not for profits. Well, some of us are, but not intentionally. So let's look at our letter number A, our awesome customers. Now look at the gauges here, right? Our A customers are both off the charts when it comes to good profits and off the charts when it comes to low time demands. These are great customers. Low time demands, big profits. Now this is where the danger comes in, right? Because they're low time demands, that's all they get. And we'll come back to that in a minute. So your awesome clients, your A clients, good profits, low time demands, happy days. Now, what you've got to watch out for here, really watch out for here, is they're the ones that everybody wants. Okay, so A customers, good profits, low time demands. What percentage? 10 to 15% of your customers maybe fit in that A bracket. The bulk of our customers fit in the B bracket, what we call the basics, right? And it's still above average profit, so it's still good. And there's more time demands, but it's still okay. It's probably still on the right side of time demands on the average scale. So you're spending more time with these clients. They're a wee bit more needy, a wee bit more questions, a wee bit more work needed, and not making quite as much, but things are still okay. What you want to do with your B clients is nurture them, work with them, right? Help these customers and graduate them over time to become A clients. Then things start to go against us. We get to C. So what's a C customer? Easy to tag it ain't that, it's caution, right? And this is now the tap on the shoulder that things are maybe not where they need to be because these customers now are below average profits and above average time. They're starting to really suck some time here and you're not quite getting the money you need from them, right? You want to start realigning your caution, your C clients, and get them up to B. And it's not really difficult to do. Just look after them better. Make sure you're positioning, managing expectations, setting the rules of the game, what's acceptable, what's not. In the printing industry, where these ones come, is where a great example is artwork. There's constant, and we've all got them. Let's get ourselves. There's constant changes. You're not charging for these changes because they moan, right? Constant artwork changes. This is where the time comes in, and this is where the profits get sucked. Then they're always, you give them a price, no matter what price they haggle, right? You give them the invoice, they still haggle. Starting to sound familiar? Possibly. These are caution. Then it goes pear-shaped badly, and we get into the danger level, right? And these customers, the D customers, danger, we are talking ludicrously low profits and unbelievably high time demands. And we have all got these customers. They are bad for business because in reality, you are making nothing from these customers. Sorry, just having a cup of tea there. You're making nothing from these customers in reality, right? It might be a paper profit, but it's not a reality profit. Zero profit, massive time demands, possibly with the added disadvantage of just being awkward customers. They're never going to refer you. They're not really the best at paying, etc., etc. But it's these two metrics, profit and time, that we want to focus on. These customers need to be changed to at least a C, or realigned, manage expectations, or politely asked to go to one of your competitors. Because here is the thing. Let's go back to our A's. Oh, wrong one. Let's go back to our A's, right? Our brilliant customers who don't take up any time, to our D customers who take up all our time. You are so busy trying to work with D's, you're not looking after your A's. And then along comes a competitor and they're gone. Be very, very mindful of that. So we're going to wrap up now with the Magnificent Seven. And this is going back to what I talked about right at the start, where we talked about me being focused, obsessed, probably is a better word, on turnover. Have a look at this illustration. This is how a business works. This is a printing business, right? How does a business work? Well, everything you do in marketing reaches. So if you send out 5,000 leaflets, you've reached 5,000 people. If you put an advert in a local magazine that goes out to 10,000 people, you've reached 10,000 people. If you stand up at a networking event, there's 50 people in the room, you've reached 50 people. That's the reach. That'll be huge. And from that reach, the first conversion rate, circle in red, is taking that marketing reach to the initial inquiry, what I call a do you do type conversation. Do you do this? Do you do that? The initial inquiry. And then if you follow this right down, that initial inquiry, you then convert that into what we call a qualified lead. So you're getting all these initial inquiries. Are these a qualified lead? What a qualified lead is somebody that's ready, willing, and able to do business with you now in the near future. That's a qualified lead. We then convert qualified leads into issuing quotes. And then the fourth conversion rate, yes, there's four conversion rates. The fourth conversion rate is converting those quotes to the sale. So there's four conversion rates there. Now, what's interesting here is the top two are all about marketing. Nothing to do with sales, right? So marketing reach to convert to initial inquiries, if that's not right, it's the marketing message. You might be targeting the wrong people, or you're targeting the right people, but the message isn't right. The message isn't clear. If you're getting all these initial inquiries, but they're not becoming qualified leads, then there's definitely something wrong with the wording. So if you, let's say you're getting lots, let's say you're a large format poster printer, right? And I've seen this quite a lot actually. Get lots of inquiries, people looking for a poster of, X pop group, right? No, that's not what we do. We actually print posters, not actually sell them, we actually print posters. It means your marketing message isn't clear. And your initial inquiries to qualified leads will soon tell you that. So these are marketing conversions. Once you've got a qualified lead, that's somebody that's ready, willing, and able to do business with you now in the near future. The next two conversion rates aren't right. Nothing to do with marketing. It's you, it's the business. Marketing's done its job. It's presented you with qualified leads. Why are you not closing them? It's the business, it's the price, it's the service, it's the reliability, it's the reputation. It's not marketing. It's not marketing. So let's look at this now, how it continues. Now we've got the quotes issued, we've converted them, we won the customers. We've got that customer coming back with the number of sales per year, the average sale value per year, that times that times that gives us the turnover, and then the margin we make gives us the profit. Okay, now let's put numbers on this. Now, With this business, the numbers here are live, but the 240,000 is what I would usually class as extremely low because they were super targeted with their marketing already, right? So the marketing reach number is low, and that number, that 1% conversion rate is actually extremely good, right? But again, it was targeted. They knew what their niche market was. So this fictitious business, 240,000 was the estimated reach over the year. And here's the sucker punch. It was all direct mail. 240,000 reached, 1% converted, which gave them 2,400 initial inquiries. From those initial inquiries, 30% of them went on to be a qualified lead. We've now got 720 qualified leads, people that are ready, willing, and able to do business with them now or in the near future. From the 720 qualified leads, they convert half of them to issue 360 quotes. From the 360 quotes, they converted 45% of them to win 162 customers. From the 162 customers, the average customer used them roughly once a month, 12 times a year, spending 450 quid a time. 162 times the 12 times the 450, turnover £874,800. 40%, 30% margin gave them a profit of £262,440. Not a half bad little business there. My question to them was, can you get this business up to 1.5 million? They said no. Oh, okay, that's a bit abrupt. Why can't you? Well, why? Well, just not ready, a couple of things, not quite right. Okay, what's the target? Million. A million, okay. So let's break it down. Let's no longer talk about turnover and no longer talk about profit. We're going to park them, right? Now, bearing in mind, I was doing the exact opposite when I had my business. It was all about turnover. We didn't make any of the profit. So let's break it down. We're going to leave the marketing reach exactly the same, but now we're going to look at 10% improvements in each of those areas circled, right? And I'll also give you how they did this. It's all very well saying do it, it's how they did it. So question number one, I said to them, okay, so all this marketing reach, can we improve that first conversion rate by 10%? Not 10% on, taking 1 to 11%, that would just be ridiculous. It's 10% of. So can we take that 1% to 1.1%? Can we get an extra 0.1% improvement on that first marketing reach to initial inquiry? And he said, yes, we can. We're good at our targeted marketing, but we now know where the big fish are, and we now know, where, although they're still target market, we now know the ones that are less likely to buy. We're getting good at this, so easy was the answer. Okay, fantastic. Because that then gets the initial inquiries up. Now let's look at initial inquiries to qualified leads. Can you get that from 30% up to 33%? Can you get an extra 3% on your initial inquiries to qualified leads? And they said, yes, we can. Reason for that was they'd identified that their messaging wasn't quite as sharp as it should be, right? It was still a little bit feature led rather than benefit focused. And that's a topic for another day. But they started to get more benefit focused, so it became more about the customer rather than what previously was more about them and their business. So the answer to that was yes, we can get that 30 up to 33%. Good. So just to recap, that was just adjustments to marketing and the messaging, right? And the targeting of those messages. That's all this was. So we then come on to conversion rate number 3, which was qualified leads to issuing quotes. Now we now know that these leads are now ready, willing, and able to do business with them now in the near future. So I was really quite surprised that their conversion rate from qualified leads to quotes was only 50%. So my question was, why is that? You've now got these qualified leads. Why is it why only 50% of these customers allowing you to quote? There's no risk to the customer to get that quote. Why are you only issuing 50% quotes? And we don't ask. What? Yeah, we don't ask. We only issue a quote if the customer asks. Well, isn't that a new kind of stupid? So is it safe to say then we can get that 50 up to 55? Could probably get that 50 up to 75. Well, easy tiger. Can we get that 50 to 55? Yes, happy days. Let's look at next conversion rate that's concerning me slightly here as well, because you're currently issuing 360 quotes. You're only converting 45% then, right? You're good in the market. You're good at what you do. You're positioned well. You've got your niche. You're not the cheapest, but you're not the most expensive. Why the hell are you only converting 45%? We don't follow up quotes. Oh, welcome back to the school of stupid. So you don't follow up quotes at all? No. We've always just what it uses, they'll uses. Really? Wow. The last person to say such a stupid thing, I think, was actually me when I had my business. Doesn't work. So can you get that 45 up to 49% by implementing a follow-up process? Yeah, yeah, I think so. Now let's look at the next one. So that's the 4 conversion rates. Customers using 12 times a year, can you get that average number of sales up to 13.2? Again, adding this 10%. Yes. Straight away, yes. Okay, wow. How? Because our customers don't know our full product range, right? We've got large format, we've got small format, we've got digital, we've got design, we've got web. Right. Okay. So by offering these products, then you reckon you could get the average customer transactions up from 12 to 13.2. Yes. Good. Okay. Happy days. Average sale value 450 to 495. Well, if the customer's coming back and order additional products, that average sale value is obviously going to increase. But reviewing the prices haven't been increased in about 2 years, right? So we need to get the prices increased, right? And that'll help with average sale value. Bundling products, offering different. There's a whole load of potentials here. So yes, they're comfortable. We can get that 450 up to 495, just 10% again. Okay, good stuff. Now, let's run the numbers again and see what happens. So the marketing reach is the same, 240,000. We're now converting 1.1. That gives us 2,640, 2,640 initial inquiries. We're now converting 33% then to give us 871 qualified leads. Qualified leads are ready, willing, and able to do business with us now. We're in the near future. We're converting 55% of them, and we're now issuing 479 quotes, which we're now following up. We're sending out wow packs. This is all starting to work. From those 479 quotes issued, we're converting 49.5% of them to give us 237 customers who are using this business 13.2 times a year, spending £495 a time, and the turnover is now 1.5 million, 1,548,558 quid, the exact number they said they couldn't achieve. So what's changed? You said you couldn't do 1.5 million, but every time I asked you in these 6 areas, yes, 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 it's now 1.5 million because you're now not looking at the turnover in isolation. You're looking at numbers that drive the turnover. That is a 77% increase in turnover, but it gets better. Let's increase that margin from 30 to 33%. Can you do that? Yes, we can. How? Well, we've already talked about it. We have to increase the prices. We're not measuring our waste. So we need to start really focusing on the waste and getting these cogs down, the cost of goods sold. We're not wanting waste. We're probably wasting more than we should. We're not timing jobs, so we're taking longer to do jobs. And we've got a couple of costs in the business that maybe need cost and expense that need controlled as well. So yes, we can get that margin improved. Brilliant. 10%? Yes. 33% target? Yes. Great. Because that takes your profits up to 511,000, 94% increase in profit. Now you're probably thinking, this is bullshit. Right? It's okay to think that. If you're thinking this is bullshit, on you go. Happy days. Go and look at the numbers again though and tell me what part of it's bullshit. 77% increase in turnover, 94% increase in profits. If I had done a LinkedIn post, and God knows there's enough shit in LinkedIn as it is, but if I had done a post on LinkedIn, increase your turnover 77%, increase your profits by 94%, you would have looked at it and went bullshit as I would have done. But I've just shown you how to do it. I've just shown you it's not about 77% turnover. It's not about 94% onto the profit. It's about the 7 key areas. Now, this is the real world we're back in now. You might decide that's not feasible. I can't do that. So it might not be 10%. It might be 10% here, but it might only be 5% there, right? I'll give you a blank sheet. Do your own numbers. even with a 5% increase, it's going to knock you off your chair, the difference it makes. So that is the magnificent seven numbers. So I hope I didn't bore you too much. So thank you. You now have some interesting, Printeresting options. Okay, you go back and maybe look at some of these and think, okay, this is the one thing. No, it might be two or three, but pick one thing, right? Pick one thing to focus on for the next month, maybe in the next quarter, right? Especially if it's putting in follow-up processes or these magnificent seven numbers. That takes time to do. Pick one thing, do it well. Now, the options you've got here now are this. You can do absolutely nothing, right? And just expecting magic to happen. Now, then don't laugh because about 80% of people do exactly that, right? You can take action by picking one point highlighted, doing it yourself. That's absolutely fine. Hope this has been helpful. Or you can book a power hour with me. It's not a sales pitch. Seriously, honestly, you book an hour with me, it's an hour for you, not for me, right? If at the end you decide, yeah, I quite like to work with this guy, that's fine. That's commercial realism. If you don't, that's fine. I'm not going to fall out about it. I love working with people in the print industry because I got it so badly wrong. I want to help people avoid those mistakes. And then you'll find perhaps somebody you know that could do it help and you're fair. That's how the world works. So book that power hour. It's for you. It's not for me. It's not a sales pitch, right? And focus on the one topic you want to. Just message me through this website and we'll get that booked in for you. Or come back along to one of the Printeresting live events. Keep an eye on the website. We usually run them every quarter. So that has been Printeresting. If that's been helpful, take a picture of this screen. Not me, right? Don't want me in the picture, but take a picture of the Printeresting screen and then stick it onto your LinkedIn feed and go, wow, just watch this guy's presentation. Really, really good. This guy knows his stuff. Or, God, he waffles a lot of crap. Feedback's great. If this has been helpful, let me know. If it's been really bad and bugged you, also let me know. That has been Printeresting. I hope you found it Printeresting. If you've got any questions, please give me a shout. Book that power hour. Always happy to help. And just remember, always be taking action. Hope that helps. Thanks for listening.